Welcome back to Conservative Conversations. I'm your host, Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today we're going to be talking about a few new entries into the Republican race for president in 2024, and we're going to be talking about the dark reality of Joe Biden's green dreams. So let's talk about it. Alright folks, before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. You can also subscribe and leave a comment on our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you. To start it off, we're going to be talking about a couple new entries into the Republican primary race for president. Most recently, first it was Tim Scott about a week ago as we record on May 29th. He joined the race. He held an event in Charleston, South Carolina, because he's the senator, one of the senators from South Carolina. And then just a couple days after that, Ron DeSantis finally made his announcement on Twitter of all places, and that did not go so well.
Was that live?
Yes. Yeah,
it was in the interview with
Elon Musk
or whatever. Yeah.
They had a bunch of technical issues.
Okay. Yep. I did see about that. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's finally official. We've been waiting, it seems like several months for Ron DeSantis to make his announcement. Now he finally has, and it almost seems like the race is officially on, but of course it's been on. But I learned...
Well, and in some ways you might say it's not on yet.
Sure.
It's just going to heat up.
Yeah, it's just getting started.
But yeah, you might say it's always on anymore.
Right, because it almost seems like
everything's political.
Yeah, once one election cycle ends, they get ready for the next one.
That's exactly right. And grudges don't die.
Yeah. But I learned there's a candidate whose name kind of went under the radar for the Republican Party. It's Larry Elder. I did not know he had put his name into the race, because I had went and tried to find a list of candidates who have officially announced. And I was able to find one from, I think it's pronounced Axios.com.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, what do I got here? From the Republican primary party, we of course have Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, who I recently learned is from Cincinnati, Ohio, which I didn't know. Let's see. Tim Scott, of course, we just mentioned. Asa Hutchinson, who's the former governor of Arkansas. Larry Elder. And then there's a couple names that people think still might jump in. There's Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia. Mike Pence. Chris Christie. Chris Sununu, who's the governor of New Hampshire, I believe. Yes, New Hampshire. And then the Miami mayor, Francis Suarez, who I just heard on a interview recently on the Fox News Rundown podcast, and he seems to be pretty interesting candidate, so I wouldn't mind keeping my eye on him.
Getting to know him a little better.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, Sununu. That's a name. That's a good name, first of all. I will tell you that. And if you remember the old Charles Krauthammer, he used to reference Sununu a lot. I think he's a good guy. I link the two together. It's the names, the names. There's a time period associated. Sure. There's history there. And I think Sununu would be a good one. Now, the only thing I think with all of these, Glenn Youngkin and above, even Larry Elder, I might even say especially Larry Elder, is, there's some name recognition to these people. Unfortunately, I think less so in Sununu's case, just like, I think it takes a certain amount of people to know Krauthammer.
Sure.
To even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think Larry Elder, who's from California,
Right.
failed there, didn't he? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he tried to run for governor. I think it was in the I don't think it was an official election. It was that recall.
It was like the
exactly. Recall election. Yeah.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say though is that was almost like a bid for national attention in a way, if you'll allow me to say it. And this is almost like the follow up. And he just doesn't seem like a strong candidate to me.
Right. I don't think so either.
I don't think any of them do. Glenn Youngkin, I mean, in certain ways, sounds like a dream candidate. But I don't think he's getting out of Pennsylvania, and I think he should stay in Pennsylvania. He belongs in Pennsylvania. That's a real battleground, battlefront, you might say. Battlefront when it comes to the elections.
It's Virginia, but yes, same thing applies.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm
Just
probably mixing up my people. I just have a little jotted down list
That's
I just wrote out here, so I'm probably getting a little confused there. But you know what I'm saying, though. These people have name recognition, but I don't think they can go all the way.
Right.
And now somebody like a Tim Scott, even, I think that's a step above. And I think somebody like a Tim Scott, I hope and pray. We've talked about it on the channel before.
Yeah, just last episode.
I'd love a Tim Scott. I love Tim Scott. I mean, I'm totally with the guy. But, and I'll say this. I think somebody like him has a little more teeth than somebody like a Larry Elder.
Right.
Because the one won and the one lost.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. One has shown his political success compared to the other.
Yes, exactly. And one, you would actually say, answers to the edict of the people or whatever.
Right.
So that's interesting to me, but I still don't even think of Tim Scott, even though he's a step above, I think. I still think even Tim Scott, okay, he might have more teeth, he might have more of a standing, more of a chance.
Right.
More of a prayer, however you want to put it. I still don't think he's going to perform as well as like a Trump on the national scale. There's just no way.
Right.
No way. None.
Yeah. I don't think so either. Because he's not one of those senators that's often in the news. I mean, if you follow politics closely enough, he definitely has some name recognition, but the general public, I don't think, really would have the same
Tim
amount.
Scott?
Yeah.
No way. I mean, that's what I'm banking the last thing I just said off of, is he might have some. I even say he has a better chance. Some might even be better known. Larry Elder. I mean, what's the population of California and the surrounding states to California versus wherever Tim Scott's from? Right?
Yeah.
You're talking about it, and he's a radio king, Larry Elder. Come on, he got his message out.
Right? Yeah.
I don't think even Tim Scott, as the best ambassador he could ever be, I don't think he's going to even have the same reach as the loser Larry Elder did. And I don't mean to beat up on Larry Elder. I actually think he could take it.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to be unkind.
Right, I gotcha. Yeah, but this, the mayor of Miami, I'll try to see if I can get a link to that episode and put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I like him. He's, like I said, the mayor of Miami, and they've been having a lot of growth. Quite a few tech companies have moved down there. Miami's crime has been going down. Business has been going up. So he seems to be doing pretty good there, and he's definitely going to be able to help pull the Hispanic vote, which already has been increasing in the Republican Party, but it'd be good to increase it some more, especially if...
Yeah, for the roots to grow deeper.
Right, if you got a good representative like him.
That's how it should be, though. Community, you dig those roots, you grow those roots. That's how that's families, that's structure, that's That's how government should be.
Right.
Organized and logical.
Mm-hmm. And it almost seems like he could have a really good shot at connecting with voters as a mayor, even though he might not have as good name recognition. If he can get out and really hit the ground doing the real hard politicking, he's already close to the people as a mayor compared to these senators and, even the governor, Ron DeSantis himself, because he's got the whole state that he's trying to listen to and,
right.
Conflicting wants and needs on various levels. Whereas the mayor, he's, closer to directly representing the people.
But it's a smaller base.
Right, yeah.
But yes, I know exactly.
So I think he's someone to keep an eye on, and his name was Francis Suarez.
Suarez.
Yep.
I wrote it down. Sounds pretty cool.
I'm trying to see if I had any other comments. I don't know. I think that's about it. It's good to see the field growing. My original plan to talk about today was I wanted to dig further into comparing the primary candidates to the parties going back a couple elections, because in the last episode we talked about how it seems like there's always more Republican candidates than Democrat candidates. And I wanted to try to follow up on that and see how accurate it was, but it wasn't easy just to find the info I wanted to find. It's just a simple list of the primary candidates. So I ended up having to switch gears, but that's something I might have to take more time and make a little project out of.
I bet we could research that together if you wanted to.
Sure.
And especially if the people found it interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys could comment, let us know if that's something you'd be interested in a deep dive.
Yeah, then we'll definitely do it.
Sort of foray into the library, down into the archives, and,
right,
do some
real research.
Yes, research on that topic. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if I were going to try to transition into my next topic, were you ready for that?
Yep, we'll go for it.
Well, then I'd probably just try to piggyback off what you're saying and say, who they're going to be facing in the, obviously after the primary, but in the general. I'm sure it'll be
Jr.
Biden. Who?
I said RFK Jr.
RFK
Jr., yeah.
Right.
I'm joking. Because I think he is actually officially announced he's running for the Democrat Party.
I'm sure he did. It's that season. Time to start fundraising.
Yep.
What do they call it? Ground stomping?
Yeah,
or whatever.
hitting the stump.
Whatever they say. Yep. So, Biden.
Yeah.
He's going to be out there campaigning. They're running against him in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I almost want to caution all of them and say, we ought to be able to find harmony and just put somebody forward and not bloody ourselves, but go bloody him because he's an easy target.
Yeah,
he seems like he would be. We ought to be able to just get behind somebody. Anyway, there's an article out by the Daily Caller that says it's calling Biden's position on these new what they're calling critical mineral supplies, for his green agenda and everything. To make these batteries, to make these hybrid cars, to make these windmills, whatever.
Right.
He needs all these minerals and everything.
Right, yeah.
And they're calling it a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde approach because in one way he's saying, we're not going to drill on American soil. We're not going to ruin the green economy.
Mm-hmm.
And they also couple all the manufacturing stuff with these demands that everybody needs to be green. They need to not manufacture, not produce X volume of
like
carbon dioxide and whatever, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, these foreign countries just do whatever the hell they want. And we buy all our stuff from them. All the stuff that's in your cars, all the stuff that's in these batteries, all the stuff that's in your LED cell phone. I mean, we've known it for years. The reporting's been out there for years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Strip mining, whatever. What's here in my notes?
Lithium and cobalt.
This critical mineral supplies. Do you know how you get those critical minerals? You get them out of the earth. They're called rare earth elements.
Yep. And you send little children down in the mines to go get them.
In some cases.
Yep.
In other cases, you send huge machines that belch horrible amounts of carbon dioxide up into the air. Probably more than... I mean, what? 1 million Priuses worth.
Right.
To make you a Prius.
Right. Well, one of the arguments against electric vehicles for quite a while has been to make the electric vehicle, you cause more pollution than you're going to save.
Right.
So that's nothing new.
Well, I also think it's interesting. I have it queued up right here.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminded me when Biden first went in. I think it's actually literally one of the first things he did. I'm about to read it.
Sure.
But when he went in, he did this Made in America thing. It was an executive order. I'm going to read you the number. And it basically did nothing. Nothing at all. And there's a PDF. It's going to be linked in the show notes where you can actually look up what it takes to comply with the Made in America standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's arbitrary and capricious.
All right.
Which is a legal term to say complicated and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Made in America, what do you call it, executive order. The president believes that when we spend American taxpayers' dollars, it should support American workers and businesses. In his first week in office, President Biden signed Executive Order 14005, ensuring that the future is made in America by all of America's workers, launching a whole-of-government initiative to strengthen the use of federal procurement to support American manufacturing, to continue building on these implementation efforts and ensuring these ambitious goals aren't just talk but action. The executive order established the creation of the Made in America office within the White House of Office of Management and Budget, or OMB. And
that's it?
That's literally all it says. It does not tell you what it does. Made in America, it does not tell you.
It almost sounds like Kamala
where its
Walla
budget comes from.
Could have written that.
It actually literally just says that he created a new government office within
another office.
The OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. He created a new office.
Yep.
That's what the executive order does. Then, to actually see what's governing what he's talking about, because you know how they all just talk about stuff. There actually is something. There's a PDF. Hang on, I have it queued up right. Oh, I did. Sorry, I lost it. There's a PDF called Complying with the Made in USA standard that's put out by the FTC.
FTC.
The Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah. Interesting.
There's a Made in USA standard. So, it already exists.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole, we're going to buy American made, well, it doesn't make sense. Because if you look at what strategically we're relying on, we're buying these chips, which takes silica, gold, these rare earth minerals that we're talking about.
Neon.
Right? All this stuff. Yes, exactly. See, you're really hitting on something there that we've talked about before.
Yep.
We're in wars over these precious minerals.
Right.
I mean, I think that's really hard hitting. It's almost ridiculous, the Made in America. It only harms America, as it's implemented now.
Right.
Because we could be totally... What were we under Trump? We were totally energy efficient.
Yep.
Energy efficient. And what flows from that? If you're energy efficient, you're probably all kinds of efficient.
Yeah. Because you need energy to do anything, just like the
Yes.
body. The body needs energy
Exactly. Oh, but
to function.
that almost gets biblical to speak of the body. I'm just saying.
Sure.
I won't take it further. But when you talk about health,
Right.
yes, see, I mean, it's linked. It's a very important thing to think about. How are we going to have a healthy economy, a healthy society, a healthy government, a healthy world?
Right. Yep, we need access to energy, and the harder you make it to access it. You know, you either.
When that's just like the Democrats.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I thought of this earlier. I hate to interrupt you, and I hope I didn't.
That's okay.
But it's almost like sometimes I feel like Republicans get in trouble for making private contracts with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out to be scandalous because it was their brother's uncle's cousin or something. They're all related.
Uh-huh.
And it was an inside job.
Right.
But I was thinking about that. And isn't it kind of baked into the cake that a Republican or a conservative would go for a private contract? Whereas, what do the Democrats do? It's all government stuff. They're ballooning all the time, ballooning, growing the government.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that its own kind of, do you see what I'm saying, familial relationship? I mean, when the post office is related to the Air Force, is related to the White House, is related to, you see what I'm saying? When they're all related to each other and they all dwell on the same budget.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, they all exist to serve one another and keep growing.
Yeah, it's the same concept. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Right.
All right, off the record. What were we talking about?
Where your original thing was the minerals, China Joe.
Minerals, China Joe. How do we get to what were we just talking about?
We sort of went into energy, how we needed energy.
Yeah. One, how they're totally hypocrites.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I'm hitting around all about that. Because of the green dreams. We want to bring it back to that.
Okay.
Because they're trying to do the green energy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all a lie. I think I even have a quip. You can't hide... hang on. No, I don't. Well, you can't hide... I don't know. We'll just see.
Right. I'm trying to think of how to bring it back. Let me think. I don't know.
What if I just take over because I've kind of been on a
Okay.
rant.
Go ahead.
So what if I just say... So I hate to go backsliding on myself, but the point of what I've been talking about is about these green dreams and how they don't mix with what's actually been going on.
Right.
It would be more beneficial. You could take more steps to their sort of green dream if you funded it properly, if you did it properly. But instead, it's like they're bankrupting the whole country
Right.
on the Green Deal when we have prosperity on tap.
Right.
And all we have to do is open the flow.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I don't know how many times people have to couch their comments by saying, of course we all want a clean environment, because it's true. I don't know anybody that's seeking to intentionally dirty up the earth. I mean, sure, there might be some people, because that's just the way the world is. But
DuPont.
sure. But the average person wants a clean environment, but where you're not getting your clean environment, ripping out all these minerals that you got to go get to supposedly reach your clean environment. I mean, maybe in due time when we have better technology to extract the minerals that's cleaner, sure. But right now, one of the cleanest things we got, we have nuclear, which is no carbon emissions, but people are afraid of nuclear energy. And then you have fracking, which is shown to reduce carbon emissions, but they don't like that because it has to do with natural gas and oil, and you can't do that. It's fossil fuels. It's dirty. But that's the most abundant resource that we can produce the cleanest at the moment, and they don't want to bother using it just because they have these big, as you keep calling them, green dreams of how the environment should be, but it's all nonsense.
Well, and it's another one of those where I think the environment's really been, sort of
Politicized.
tweaked and politicized over the years. I mean, they've certainly done things with agriculture, with climate. They've messed around,
Sure.
A lot of things have come out of Pandora's box. I'm not sure what opened it, but a lot of things have come out, and they've played with agriculture and GMOs, that whole thing's a real rabbit hole.
Right.
I don't know that it has to do with what we're talking about, so we don't have to talk about it, but there's a real rabbit hole there.
Yeah, definitely is. But yeah, I'm definitely not surprised to see, in pursuit of green energy, that they're actually not actually pursuing green energy. Much like a lot of the Democrat policies, what their quote unquote intended goal is.
Yeah, are antithetical to
Yes.
what they actually do.
Right.
What they go out and do in reality. Yeah, more harm than help.
Right. Well, is that all you got on China Joe?
China Joe. Yep.
Well, earlier when you mentioned China Joe, it made me think that somebody should do a parody song. I believe it's the Doobie Brothers. They got China Grow.
China Grow.
Yeah, China Joe. I don't really know the words to the song, or else
I know that's one of my favorites, actually.
But anyway,
Oh, China Joe, China Joe.
my next topic kind of goes back to talk about Ron DeSantis and how there are some other candidates, Republican candidates, that are attacking Ron DeSantis from the left on a particular issue, which is the issue regarding the Reedy Creek district in Florida, which is where Disney is located, basically. And the most recent person, certainly not the only person to say something that I heard anyway, was Mike Pence. And one of the main criticisms, and well, I guess I better kind of explain what's going on. Well, last year, the Florida State Legislature and Ron DeSantis put forward and signed the Parental Rights and Education Bill, or as the left might tell you, and it's misleading, it's called the Don't Say Gay Bill. I'm sure people might.
I hate that.
Yes. We're not really going to get into why that's misleading, but because I'm sure we talked about it in past episodes.
The biggest thing, if you don't mind,
sure, go for it.
Is that it doesn't say that
right
anywhere.
Right. The bill has nothing to do with people being able to or not being able to say gay.
Well, even the whole concept, don't say gay, don't talk about gay, whatever, what's implied doesn't even apply.
Right.
I'm sorry. I have a coworker who feels this way, so I've thought about this before. I'd love to argue it with her, but I don't think it would be beneficial. We have to work together.
Right, of course.
Our political opinions don't have anything to do with anything.
Right.
So I've never said this, but I would like to, because I think it's preposterous.
Right.
She really believes the headlines, don't say gay,
right,
and she knows that too. For me to point this out to my coworker, my equal, that the bill doesn't say that, wouldn't mean anything to her, because she totally still believes all the hype and stuff.
Right.
And I think it's terrible that they can claim that.
Yeah, and they've got
don't say gay when who can you name one conservative who has said don't do it, no, they did it,
right?
It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, the don't say gay. So I'm sorry, I had to just say something about it. It doesn't make any sense.
No problem. But
don't say gay.
In response to
only
this,
a liberal would come up with that.
Of course. But in response to this, Disney, I don't know exactly which person, it might have been the CEO at the time or just some spokesperson, but anyway, some corporate figure at Disney, or the corporation itself, however you want to see it, decided to speak out against the bill. And a lot of people had a problem with that, and what caused Ron DeSantis to want to remove their special district, which I'll kind of explain here in a minute,
right,
is because the bill is about parental rights and education. It's in the name.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Disney.
Right.
So in this case, Disney is clearly speaking out as like a political actor. And No?
You might say an interested party.
Okay, sure. Well, yeah, I guess that's a better way to say, because they're not politicians
Well,
or
and plus,
direct.
it doesn't suggest what their motive is either.
Right, sure.
It's neutral to their position.
Right. That's more fair. I'll go with that. But anyway, a lot of people felt that since, this doesn't really have anything to do with Disney, they really shouldn't be, trying to influence the people, because I'm sure a lot of people think, well, Disney's a good, wholesome family company, and if they have a problem with this bill that the governor's pushing, well, surely there might be something wrong with it. And so that made Ron DeSantis want to take away their special tax district, which I can definitely agree with it being explicitly a political move. But part of the argument is that Disney's the only place that has this special...
Well, and that's why you would understand.
Right.
But otherwise, and I love how you set it up, otherwise you wouldn't expect this because, Cedar Point, I think, is in Sandusky, just to use that as an example. Mm-hmm. And I doubt that they control the town of Sandusky, or I doubt they have their own little fake town within Sandusky that they control, or whatever. So this is like a unique situation and is actually kind of illogical. And I can tell you, just to simplify everything, if you were to look at it from a tax point of view, it should be taxable to the state and the federal government and all the rules and regulations therein and thereupon, et cetera, and et cetera. All the jurisdictions, all the municipalities. There might even be locals. I mean, how it's all defined and everything is interesting.
Right. Well, I mean, the angle that Ron DeSantis is being attacked from is that some, like Mike Pence and some other folks, have said that this is not small government of him. It's like actually being big government to go after Disney like this.
Well, in a way it is.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back. I don't want to argue for him, but I think this is almost a great example of why the government exists.
Right.
Something like that would be a good example.
But to get back to the example, there's no other place that has this kind of special tax district. Like SeaWorld, Universal, right across the road, practically.
You might say it's like the DC of Florida,
right? Because it literally is. They have it's their own town.
I know, it's like the Disney Channel, in Florida or whatever. I'm just kidding.
So to, I think, take away a special benefit given to one corporation
by the legislature or government.
Yeah, 50 years ago.
But see, all you have to do is specify what you're saying. Who was it given by?
Right, the government.
So who can it...
Exactly, who can take it away? The government. But since all these other theme parks, don't have the same benefits, it's totally fair for the same government that gave it to them to take it away from them. And yet, as I already mentioned, I would agree that it's certainly a political move, and it was, because I don't think it would be a thing if Disney didn't speak up. And where I would more disagree with Ron DeSantis is if it were a bill pertaining to theme parks and amusement parks that directly affected Disney. Because then it almost is even more clear that they're voicing their opinions on something that affects them, and then Ron DeSantis says, "Oh, well, you're speaking out against this bill that affects you. We don't like your opinion on it. Bye-bye your special district." I would definitely say that's more of an issue than the fact that Disney decided to speak up about an issue that didn't have anything to do with them. So I just kind of bring it back to the main point. I think it's kind of silly that some of these conservative Republicans are attacking Ron DeSantis, saying that this is not really small government of him, which...
I think it makes sense.
Right, I think it makes sense. I mean, I I can definitely, like I said a little bit ago, I can agree that it certainly appears to be sort of a big government type of move.
You have to remember, where did too big to fail come from?
The Democrats.
It came from Obama. It came from a time period. I'm going more for a time period. But it piggybacked right off of Bush.
Mm-hmm.
He started the bailouts before Obama even got to the table.
Right.
You can look that up. So you know what? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
It's all just
big government games.
Stacked. It's stacked against us. Yeah. It's all games.
Yeah. It's all politics. Politics is a big game.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, I guess that's all I got on that. It's silly to me that, you think if these were good conservative Republicans, they would be in some agreement with Ron DeSantis on this issue, but I guess not. And that's all I got on that. You got one more topic for us, I believe?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but State Farm out in California, they just announced that they are not going to be issuing any new homeowner policies. They're not going to be accepting any new homeowner applications for insurance policies in the state of California.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And it sort of has to do with what we were talking about before, in a way. The whole green economy has swept California. They've always been famous for energy issues in the first place. And now, they claim that the climate is so poor. Wildfires are up, all of this kinds of stuff. Everything's so dry. There's all these droughts and wildfires and everything. And they say that just because of inflation and the natural, the pandemic and all the stuff that has happened recently, they say that the cost of housing is up 25% over the last 10 years on aggregate. 25% over 10 years, and most of the effect has been taken in the most recent years.
Is that a national figure or California? 25%.
This would be California.
Okay.
This would be California because, the next quote that I have is, it all has to do with this issue. This comes out of California. This is a story out of California. And State Farm is quoted as saying that it is necessary to take these actions now to improve the company's financial strength. So this is State Farm saying we can no longer fund. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
basically mortgages in California.
It's getting too expensive to operate in that market.
Oh, excuse me, not fund. Insure. We can no longer insure. Excuse me, I have to correct myself. What did you say?
I just said it's getting too expensive for them to operate in that market.
Yes, but what's sad is, wouldn't you agree? It really doesn't make sense for them to just cut off California as a whole. Because California is like one of the 10 biggest economies in the world.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, just friend to friend, why would a private company that operates nationwide, why would they cut off the state of California?
I don't know. There's a lot of homes to be insured there.
Doesn't it almost kind of seem or smell like a political stunt?
It does seem strange.
Well, it comes with a list of demands. So, how does that make you feel?
State Farm and the extortion business?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. At least to this observer, it sure appears that they're holding the state of California hostage. And they're insisting that California pay for an insurance discount program. And it's under the guise of wildlife safety, because there's been unprecedented wildfires and there's all this, wildlife to look after. They're trying to preserve the area, the people.
Right.
They're included. They've got to be preserved, these people. You get it? They've got to be preserved. They need help from the government.
Right.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I remember sort of kind of related story. It was like maybe last summer or fall. There's been a couple car insurance companies that said they're not going to insure certain models of vehicles because they're easily broken into.
Yes.
And I almost want to say there's some AG or DA in some city or state. I'd have to go look it up. I might be misspeaking completely.
Well,
but I feel like somebody like that was going to try to sue either the car companies for making their cars so easily break-inable or the insurance companies for not covering the cars, something like that.
Well, listen, I almost want to misspeak and talk about the same kind of thing. I remember when they were going through like Missouri or whatever in some of those big cities, and they were trampling cars and stuff. And remember they were doing the smash and grabs on businesses, breaking the business windows, graffitiing. They were doing horrible stuff to the businesses. And so I believe we can look this up. I mean, it's as easy as you Googling it for yourself, people. Right. You know, you don't have to hold us as the God's honest truth or anything.
Right.
But I remember it almost being like a nocturne, if you remember, from World War II study. Not nocturne. I don't think it was nocturne. What is it? Glock, whatever. They call it the Night of Glass. That's what it is in English. The Night of Glass. You can just Google that. And it's the night where the Nazis...
Yeah,
I don't think you can even say that word. That's probably going to demonetize us or whatever. I don't think I can say that word.
The actor turned governor, not Reagan, Schwarzenegger. It was after January 6th he made some kind of video comparing that to the event you're speaking about.
What is it?
I can't...
It sounds like... Because German and English are pretty similar. It's like Glasnacht, something like that.
Yeah, I would recognize what you're talking about if you said it. But yeah, I do know what event you're talking about, though. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can look at what happened in those Midwest cities as the same kind of thing. Because they went around and just smashed and destroyed. And that's what they did. The insurance record speaks for it itself. Right. And it's almost like one of those things, it's almost corrupt. Just like I'm saying, for these poor people, let's say you were just about to buy a home in California. Now, statewide, no matter where you are, they're not going to sell you anything because stuff is so bad in California.
Right.
Do you hear how bad this policy is?
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
You're only going to hold out for the people who still have homes. Okay, well, is there not any system in place that says that a new homeowner has to take in this to account, taking that to account, build a fire-safe home, build it in a fire-safe zone, build it in
got all that.
It would make more sense in a way to build for the new buyer, to fund, finance, whatever, to bet. Because the old homeowner almost seems more at risk. But see, they're doing it for the old. Do you see how corrupt it is? They're not going to take on any new loans, no new money. They don't want to take in any new money.
Right.
How does that make sense?
It definitely doesn't.
Unless they're holding the government hostage, and the government is going to pay this. It's called an insurance discount program. That's what they want. They want an IDP, an insurance discount program for wildlife and safety to compensate.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I think so.
Right. And it's only going to make the cost of living there even more expensive.
And you've seen what kind of exodus there's been out of California. People have been fleeing California.
Right, yep.
And they're still following down this path.
Right, yep. They're always talking about they need new, more affordable housing, but it takes forever, it costs so much. Yep. And now it's just going to cost even more because your insurance options just went down, and when there's less options, the prices usually go up.
But I'm telling you, I think you're missing the point of how they're holding the state hostage. There's going to be more to follow. I'm telling you.
I believe it. I'm just adding to the, that causes more problems than just that.
Exactly. They should have never. It goes back. We've covered it on this channel too. Back in 2008, the housing crisis. They said, not the Republicans, but they said, don't leave your homes. Just stay there. That kind of mentality has gotten us into everything that we're in right now. Just don't leave. Don't acknowledge it. Just keep taking out debt. Just keep doing it. We'll do it tomorrow. Kick that can. Kick it.
Right.
That's the Democrat. It's like Nike. Just do it. Just Democrat. Just Democrat. Just keep voting.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a screwy situation with State Farm. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that they would just want to exit the market unless either for, as you're kind of hinting at, possibly corrupt reason, or it really is just so detrimental to their profit margins or whatever that they can't operate there. But it doesn't make sense that they'd want to pull out other than one of those two reasons.
I'm just getting into motive more than you are.
Sure.
I really am, because they operate a nationwide business, and California is one of the global economies. So they have to be making a power play. Do you see what I'm saying? There's really no way around it logically. They need that market.
Well, I mean, it seems like they could also do this in other states. Well, we'll see if they do.
What do you mean? They're just going to refuse to do business in all states?
Well, New York pushes the same kind of policies,
But do you not understand what I'm saying? The stance that they're taking, it's truly just political.
Right.
Imagine if they did it. It's a true exercise of thought, of theory. Let's say I was a candle maker. Could I just say, but I'm not going to sell to... I'm a United States candle maker, but I'm not going to sell to any state in the... I'm only going to... I don't think that would fly. I really don't think... Do you get what I'm saying?
I don't either. I was being theoretical too. I mean, if it has to do with these green policies and being able to wield their power over stuff like that.
Yeah.
With the home insurances or whatever they insure.
Well, that's why I even said it before. I don't think it's legal. I don't think that you can be required by the state to hold a policy and then be found... You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's say you're a homeowner. You just bought I don't know. There's going to be some people in the lurch, just like there always is.
Right.
In between when the law was filed, with the bill was filed and the bill became law. There's going to be some people in the lurch who bought a home, and now you're saying they can't be covered under insurance. But it's a legal requirement that they are covered under insurance. So how do you get out of that catch-22?
Well, you can't get out of it if all the insurance places end up leaving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something to watch, isn't it? It's not decided.
Right, and that's kind of what I was trying to say. It's, we'll have to watch and see if State Farm or possibly any other insurance companies try to pull stuff like this elsewhere.
Well, the bar has been set. That's how I think about it. It's probably going to happen.
Yep, seems like it. Well, is that all you got?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think that's all the notes and stories I had. I thought this was a pretty good conversation.
Definitely.
Got into some weeds and came back out of them, and
maybe went back down in them again.
Yeah. Had a good adventure.
Who knows?
Yep.
But that's a good conversation.
Yeah, that's, as we say before, the name of the show, Conservative Conversations. That's what we do.
And we thank you for joining us.
And remember that today is Memorial Day, so while you're having your burgers and your hot dogs and your beers, better not be Bud Light, be sure to remember the reason for the holiday, to remember the sacrifices our military members have given for our freedom, and be sure... Oh, sounds like you were about to say something. Were you going to add something?
Without this holiday, there wouldn't be any others.
Right, exactly. And be sure, if you liked what you hear, to subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and you can also subscribe to our audios on YouTube. You can leave a comment and a like there, and share the show. Best way to spread the word.
And as always, thank you for listening.